You've created your design and prepared your pantry. Now it's time to build the base cabinet. We've broken this into 5 easy to follow steps, and we're going to do the first step together today in building our base cabinet frame. You've already planned the layout, which is your design from step 1, so now we're moving on to part 2, planning the size and the specific measurements for our base cabinet frame. All this planning is done on the floor of the pantry, keeping your design in mind from step 1. And this seems like a lot of math, but it will go simple once you get going, I promise, so please don't worry. Grab out your measuring tape and measure from baseboard to baseboard the width of your space and length of your space. Now, you do not have to leave in your baseboards, however, this design we're doing will allow you to do that as it's much easier. Next, you're going to take your door and swing it back and forth, and you'll notice the door swing makes an arc. Measure the distance from the wall to the closest point that the door reaches. This is measurement C, which is the maximum distance with the drawer open that your cabinet can extend. Next, we want to know what is the maximum depth we can make our cabinet. So we need to calculate E, which is the maximum extension of our drawer slides plus our drawer front thickness. Now this depends on what drawer slides that you choose. Our drawer slides, which I'll put the link in the description below, extend a maximum of 15 1/8 inches. And we are choosing to make our drawer fronts 3/4 of an inch thick, which means that measurement E for us will be 15 7/8 inches. So now it's very easy to measure the maximum depth of our base cabinet, which is basically just our measurement C minus our measurement E. Have a hard time visualizing with that floor plan. Here's our finished cabinet, and you can see the maximum distance C, the reach of the drawer E, including the face front, and the maximum depth of the cabinet. Now, F in this picture is not exactly accurate because there is an overhang of about 3/4 of an inch with my countertop, but it's a good visual. Now you just repeat the exact same steps to calculate the right base cabinet. To visualize the width of the cabinets in your actual space, get down on the floor and measure and mark the depth of the cabinet in at least 2 spots. Then you're going to draw a line connecting those 2 spots. This will make sure that if your wall isn't perfectly straight, that you're not going to get a wavy line. Then repeat this exact same process on the other side. Then simply place painter's tape along the lines and stop where they intersect. We use 3/4 inch tape is because that's how thick our cabinet walls will be. And this really helps when you're trying to visualize what the space is going to look like. So here you can see me doing this process, and I'm just showing you exactly where the specific measurements are on the floor plan. Now we need to consider that we need a gap between the 2 sets of drawers in order for the drawers to have clearance. And we've determined that this needs to be a minimum of 2.5 inches. However, depending on the handles that you choose, if they extend quite far, you may need to increase this measurement H a little bit more. The next thing we need to consider is that there will be a 3/4 inch gap needed for each of the sides of the box. H is going to allow us that 3/4 inches for on the right-hand side of the base cabinet, but on the left-hand side, that is where letter J comes in. That is our 3/4 inch side plate. Now we can calculate the maximum width of usable space of the left side of the base cabinet. We basically take our measurement A, which is baseboard to baseboard, and subtract H and J, which we know are both fixed numbers. Next, we need to consider the height of our base cabinets. Standard is about 34 inches, but we chose to go a little higher since we are both very tall, and we chose 35 inches. But remember, this does not include the countertop height. So if you want to use a thick countertop, you need to incorporate that. If you have decided to make drawers, now is the time where we're going to decide, do we want shelves and drawers or just shelves? If you are building the drawers, then you take your design from step 1, and our design included 1 set of shelves on the left, which we've decided should be a minimum of 9 inches wide of usable space, and a bank of drawers on the right-hand side. So we decided we want to have drawers that are 32 inches wide. So because we will need to add a 3/4 of an inch plywood style or side, we need to include that in the total amount of space that our drawers will take up, meaning our drawers will now take up the letter N, which is 32 3/4 of an inch of the total width. We decided on the left-hand side that we wanted to add a second spacer of 3/4 of an inch for aesthetics. That is because on the right-hand side of our drawers, we're going to have that letter H gap. So this way it'll allow equal gaps on either side of the drawers. So we can now calculate how much space we have left for the shelves, which for us is going to be 10 3/4. And because we will have that 3/4 inch wall, our shelves will be 10 inches wide. So here I've marked W, which is the total width of the left side of the base cabinet. So now we've achieved our goal of our 32-inch wide drawers and our 10-inch wide shelves. So we have now planned our sizing and made our measurements. It's now time to draw our measurements on our design. And this is called dimensioning. We're going to use these measurements in order to plan our cut list. Grab your design, and it doesn't have to be anything fancy. It can be anything from a computer base to a really scratchy drawing like mine. Just grab a hold of whatever you have, and let's first look at W, our total width of our base cabinet. And remember, it includes only the two sides or stiles, which are 3/4 of an inch. H, which was our 2.5-inch gap that we've added, is going to be made of a finishing piece. So rather than use my scribbly drawing, I'm going to use a picture of our base cabinet frame. The horizontal parts of the frame are called the rails, and the vertical parts are called the stiles. Our entire frame, all of the rails and stiles, are made from 3/4 inch thick birch plywood. Planning always helps. So now that we have a lot of these measurements made, the rest is going to be a cinch. So W, which is our finished width of our left side of our base cabinet, is just our measurement K plus 1.5 inches if you're using 3/4 inch plywood like we are for the stiles. This is the length that we will use to cut the kick plate, which we will discuss later. Our measurement K is the length we will cut our rails, which are the same as our top and bottom crossbars. We've added a little picture of the floor plan in the bottom right corner so that you can try and follow along and connect what we did in the second step to what we're doing now. The next thing to place on our design is our M, which is the total height of the base cabinet and is the length of our stiles on the sides. Here we've placed a side view so that you can see the cabinet frame from the side and you can visualize the cutout and why we need to do that for this stile on the side here. And it truly makes putting this together a breeze. Here you can see the depth of the cabinet from the side view, front view, and floor plan. The two sides or stiles need to have a cutout in order to hold the kick plate with this design. You can see from the side view that the kick plate height is the height of the cutout. And we need to have a kick plate as that way we can get as close as possible to the cabinet without our feet actually hitting the bottom of the cabinet. So we recommend making this a minimum of 4 inches. Now our measurement Q here is the cut length of the outer stiles, but where the cutout is. The whole length you're going to cut it to is the length M, and the width is a minimum of 2.25 inch. We chose to do 2 3/8, and this is the depth of the kick plate. So you definitely don't want to go too small or you'll be kicking your toes all the time in your cabinet. The last few things to measure are the length of the back rail, which is S, and T, which is going to be the length of the top and bottom rails. And that's everything you need to measure. So now we're ready to take all of these measurements in our drawing and create our cut list. Coming up next, we're going to show you how to create your own cut list easily from your dimensional drawings. And this will be all the cuts that you need to build your own base cabinet frame. Please like and subscribe to our channel to find out when our next video comes out.